Yes, if you're ready to resume with the witness. Mr. Cruz, I'll remind you that you're still under oath. You may inquire. Mr. Cruz, good morning. Morning. Yesterday you testified, among other things, that you learned at some point that you were the subject of a New York State investigation? Yes. Is that correct? Were you ultimately arrested on that investigation? Yes. And what year were you arrested? 2017. Okay, you also testified yesterday that you learned prior to that sometime in 2016 there was a raid on what you referred to as the stash house in Ridgewood, correct? Yes. Mr. Cruz, I'd like you to take a look at what should be on your screen as Government Exhibit 203. Do you see where it says from and there's a name and then an address in China? Yes. Do you recognize the sender? Yes. Can you explain what the sender is? The sender's an online company that sells fentanyl. Was that an online company that you patronized? Yes. Okay, and do you see your name listed below? Yes. Was that a package that you personally ordered? Yes. Do you have any idea what was in that package? 1 kilogram of fentanyl. Okay, and where was that, without giving the exact street address, where was that package originally shipped to? Manhattan. Okay, where in Manhattan? Where? Again, without the street address, do you know the location that it was sent to? Yes, like around 12th Street, 4th Avenue. Okay, Miss Henry, can we please pull up Government Exhibit 204? Have you seen Government Exhibit 204 before? No. And Miss Harney, can you please pull up Government Exhibit 205? Have you seen Government Exhibit 205? Like I seen these pictures? Yes. No, I haven't seen these pictures. And Mr. Cruz, you said that you had ordered this. You were shown in Government Exhibit 203 a mailing label for a package. I believe you said that it was fentanyl that you ordered. Is that correct? Objection. I want to ask a clarifying question. Overruled. Mr. Cruz, earlier in your testimony, you indicated that there was certain substances you ordered from China. What were those substances? Fentanyl. Was it actual fentanyl or some derivation of fentanyl? It was. Basis. Asked and answered, Judge. Overruled. The witness already testified. Overruled. It was furanol fentanyl. And what do you understand furanol fentanyl to be? An analog. Okay, and what does that mean to you, an analog? Analog is like, it's not real, it's not fentanyl. They just switched the molecules around because the FDA banned it here. So every year the FDA puts a ban out on new chemicals that come out. So in China they switched the molecules around. To your understanding, does furanol fentanyl contain most of the general properties of real fentanyl? Yes. Objection, Judge. The witness is testifying purely as to his understanding, and I will permit you to consider his testimony solely as it bears on his understanding. And I just asked a moment ago, to your understanding, does furanol fentanyl contain, in large part, most of the same properties of regular fentanyl? Yes, it has the same effects. Now, where we left off yesterday, Mr. Cruz, at the end of the day, was we had just played a portion of a conversation that you had with Gato. And just to reorient you and the jury, I'd like everyone to please pull up Government Exhibit 302B, which is a transcript. It should be page 3 of that transcript, and I'm going to have Ms. Harney start the recording about 37 seconds in, which should be somewhere around line 11 of the recording. Sorry, I believe you said, actually, withdrawn. This is a call I believe you testified about Gato, is that correct? Yeah. Who is the call between? You and who? Someone named True. True? Yes. What is True's real name? Miles Knight. And again, if we could just pull up 302T, page 3, and Miss Harney, if you could start at about 37 seconds in. Just to orient everyone, I believe we're now actually on page 4, line 24, but we can just continue to pick up from here. So again, page 4, line 24. Mr. Cruz, if you could please turn back to page 4 of the transcript, and before we go into explanation of individual lines, can you just please give an overview for the jury of what's just been discussed between yourself and Miles Knight? Gato, Angel Garcia, was sending messages through Snapchat saying that I owe him more money than I really owe him, so I was explaining that to Miles Knight. Can you just please pull the microphone a little closer to you so you don't have to lean all the way forward? If you could look at line 11 on page 4, and when you say he's trying to say that my whole operation I owe, he said that I owe him 300 racks. Get the f out of here, boy. 300 bands I owe you. What are you referring to there? The money I made selling MDMA. When you say first off, at the end of the day, his people stopped coming to see me, what does that mean? That means like he stopped making the sales for me, that I didn't make any sales to any of the people he was selling to. When you say, number 2, how I owe you anything, meanwhile I'm the one with the plug, can you tell the members of the jury what does that phrase mean, the plug? Plug means connection, like the drug supply. Can you please turn to page 5? There are several references to Shuda. Who is Shuda? Shuda is another member of 9Trey. And what was Shuda's role in this dispute? Well, just what Mal Murda told me, that he had an argument with Shuda, so I'm just going off what Mal Murda said. Okay, and did Mal Murda tell you that the argument with Shuda was about? About the money that I owe Gato. Did you understand whether Mal Murda took a particular side and whether Shuda took a particular side on that argument? Yeah, I guess Mal Murda took my side on the argument and Shuda took Gato's side on the argument. Objection, relevance, judge. This whole line of questioning. Overruled. Okay, now do you see here on the bottom of page 5, the last 2 lines, and going to the next page, you say, but Nuke is always trying to be like the, and Miles Knight says, amping it, and you say, yeah. What is that a reference to? First of all, who is Nuke in that reference? Nuke is El Jeremiah Mack. And what is that a reference to? Nuke being the instigator, always trying to start something. Why are you invoking Nuke's name in this discussion with this dispute about Gato? Because he was like, I guess, trying to take Gato's side and amp the situation up more than it is. Okay, and on the next page, when you say on line 4, so I Nuki got something for you, Nuki, or ends just saying it might go down. Who cares though? I don't care. What are you saying? Saying it might go down like somebody might get shot? Okay, and when Miles Knight says they don't got toys like us, and you say that's a fact, what does toys mean in that? What do you understand Miles Knight to mean? Toys means guns. Your Honor, at this time I'm offering Government Exhibits 308A through F and the corresponding transcripts 308T, pursuant to a stipulation which is Government Exhibit 1005, relating to prison calls and records. This particular set of recordings is from a phone call placed by Angel Garcia, also known as Gato. Any objection? No. No objection. Received. If Mr. Cruz in the court can turn to 308T, page 2, and Ms. Harney, if you can please pull up 308A once everyone's situated, if you could just please play through 308A. Mr. Cruz, do you recognize the voices on that call? Yeah, sounds like Harv and Gato. I'm sorry, Harv and Gato, Angel Garcia. Can we please turn to Government Exhibit 308B, which will be on the next page of the transcript? And Ms. Harney, if you can play that through whenever you're ready. Mr. Cruz, if you could please turn back to page 3 of the transcript. Do you see in line 3 the reference to Malley's men? Yes. Who do you understand the person Malley to be a reference to? Malley is Mal Murda. Okay. And on line 17 through 20, when Mr. Garcia says that and owe me a lot of bread, bro, but I'll settle for 62, you heard? 200, man. How much money did Angel Garcia pay you for the front to you so that you could purchase fentanyl on his behalf? I believe it was 6,500. Okay, and if we can turn to page 4, did you testified yesterday as to that you made a new agreement when you visited Angel Garcia in jail, correct? Yes. And how much money did you agree to give him then? 20,000. And what was the person that Mr. Garcia said withdrawn? What did Mr. Garcia say about how that money would be used? To pay his lawyer. Okay, and can you just, or I'll just read into the record line 1 of page 4. Yeah, bro, I need to pay my lawyers and all that. Now, on lines 5 through 10, Mr. Garcia says, I was in contact with Melly, and then Melly at first was like, nah, you bugging, Gato. You my bro. You got to give that up. So I guess the end must have gave the shit to Melly or whatever, know what I mean? Or gave Melly the bag and Melly just took it inside. Do you see that passage? Yes. Okay, first of all, the phrase, you're bugging, what does that mean? Like you're losing your mind? Okay, and what did you understand the phrase, he's got to give that up to mean? Like I had to give him the money? And when Angel Garcia says he must have given the shit to Melly or gave Melly the bag, what did you understand the phrase gave the shit to mean? Money. And what does the phrase bag mean? Bag means money. Also, can you please turn to page 6, line 20? Do you see that there's a reference on line 20? Mr. Garcia says, yo, bro, have spaghetti head text my brother. Have you seen that phrase spaghetti before? Yes. What do you understand spaghetti to be a reference to? Spaghetti head, which is what they call Malmurda because he has dreads. Miss Harney, if the court can please, and Mr. Cruz, if you can please turn to page 7 of the transcript, which is for Government Exhibit 308C, and Miss Harney, if you can please play 308C. Mr. Cruz, you said that you're arrested in a New York State case in 2017, correct? Yes. Were you indicted in that case? Yes. Can we please turn to page 8, and Miss Harney, if you could, that should correspond to 308D. And Miss Harney, if you can please play that now. Mr. Cruz, directing your attention to lines 16 and 17 where Mr. Ellison says Roe chased the N around the car. Do you know who Roe is? Roe Murda is Malmurda's brother. And on page 9 where Mr. Garcia says Melly is turning his back on, Melly is turning his back on everybody, I understand he is taking care of you, Roe, but there is principles and morals. What do you understand the phrase taking care of you to mean? Like giving somebody money? And were you financially supporting Malmurda through your drug dealings? Yes. And you said earlier today that Malmurda and Shuda had an argument with one another over this dispute. From your knowledge and your conversation with Malmurda, how did Malmurda come down on that dispute? He said the Shuda called him. That's what he told me. Shuda called him and they had an argument. Did Malmurda tell you that he had decided on what the resolution? Objection, leading judge. Sustained. What information, if any, did Malmurda provide you about how that dispute with Shuda resolved itself? Well, later on, he told me the only thing Malmurda said to me later on is the fact that if Gato was still talking about you, then don't pay him. Miss Harney, if the jury and the court can please turn to page 10, which is 308E, and Miss Harney, if you could please play that. One other question. There is a reference to running down on someone. Mr. Ellison says, I'm going to run down on someone on page 9, lines 11 through 12. Have you heard the phrase, I'm going to run down on someone? Yes. What does that phrase mean? It means like aggressively approach somebody. We can turn to, please, page 10. Miss Harney, if you can play 308E. Miss Harney, if we can please turn to the next page, which is page 12, Government Exhibit 308F. Mr. Cruz, you testified today that you were indicted in New York State in 2017, correct? Yes. Around how many co-defendants did you have in that case? About 30. Did you ever see the actual indictment, meaning the charging instrument against you? Yes. Did that include you and the other 30 or so people you were charged with? Yes. Where on that indictment did your name fall? At the top of the list. And where were your co-defendants from? Brooklyn and Queens. Ms. Harney, if we could please pull up Government Exhibit 304B. If the court and Mr. Cruz can please turn to the corresponding transcript 304T, page 5. Mr. Cruz, staying on page 6, which is the last page of this portion of the transcript, do you see in lines 6 through 8 where Mr. Mack says to you, some people got lanes? I'm saying everybody can't be a hustler or some shit. And then moving down to lines 10 through 14, if you want to be the end that play with the shit, know what I'm saying? Then you are going to play with the shit. If you want to be the ends that's grinding, then you're going to grind. You can't be both. What do you understand first Mr. Mack to be saying when he says some people have lanes, everybody can't be a hustler? He says some people have lanes, not everybody can be a drug dealer. What is hustler a reference to from your understanding? Like drug dealing? You see in line 10 to 11 where Mr. Max says, if you want to be the end that play with the then you are going to play with the What do you understand play with the to mean? He is meaning like if you're going to be somebody that plays with the pistol. When he says, if you want to be the ends that's grinding, then you are going to grind. What do you understand him by saying grinding? Grinding means selling drugs. Taking it together, when he says, if you want to be the end that play with the play with the If you want to be the end that's grinding, then you are going to grind. You can't be both. What do you understand Mr. Mack to be saying in that sentence? He is saying if you're going to be something, you can only be one thing. You can only be somebody playing with their gun, like shooting their gun, or you can only be a drug dealer. You have to pick one.